All right, so Tadano Mac has quit Marvel Strike Force. There is this Reddit post that you're seeing behind me here that details the reasons as to why, and I just think it's crazy because I'm just wondering, is now Scopely going to actually wake up and see what is going on there? I'm laughing a little bit, not necessarily because it's funny per se, but I just never thought that I would see the day where Tadano Mac would quit MSF and that I would still be playing Marvel Strike Force. I really thought that it would definitely have been the opposite way around, but definitely Tadano Mac quit Marvel Strike Force here. Here's the Reddit post that details this information out. And really, to kind of put this in perspective, right? Tadano Mac is currently the largest TCP in total collection power here in Marvel Strike Force, 69 million in collection power here. And already has his gold apocalypse. I think he spent like over 50K, I think, on day one to be able to get the gold apocalypse. And a lot of the grievances that he brings up here in this Reddit post are valid AF, right? If you want to look at it from that perspective, it really does speak very much to, kind of what they've been doing here as a player, as a company. But you mentioned it here, the sale to Savvy was discussed over a year ago. This is a farewell from Tadano Mac here on Reddit. The sale to Savvy was discussed over a year ago. Balance needed to maximize their sales volume over the course of 2022 for due diligence. The APOC Saga and Complex Milestone system were planned for that purpose. The Apocalypse Saga and Milestones were intended to fuel a sense of competition amongst the player base, and the plan succeeded admirably. I don't know about admirably part, but the company only views players as a number. That I definitely 100% agree with. Own the player as a number. Now that the sale has been finalized, their boundless promise is to pacify the grievances so that it does not become a serious due diligence breach. The effort pretends to address the player base, but in effect only temporarily suppresses the backlash. There are many things I want to say to you all, but I can't convey them as well as I'd like to. I think this is the last chance for the community to come together and to move things forward. Now is the best time to negotiate. In 2022, the plan that exasperated the player base ended in success for the company. Very, very true. They released a garbage Apocalypse character without transparency to the player base, and now they have updated Apocalypse to assuage resulting player frustrations. It's just putting a band-aid on the problem. There's nothing more that I can contribute, but I hope that the player can regain their enthusiasm and that things from here on out go well. A lot of the people expressed their resentment for me personally, but I loved and respected the people who play this game with me. If I had been a native speaker of English, I would have been able to interact more with the community, enjoy the game more, which makes me sad. It was great for 4 years. Thank you all very much. Goodbye. And this was a note down here too that, as requested by Tadano, light edits were made to the original wording due to ESL limitations. The original word for word screenshots are attached below. I don't see those here. I think that was probably from a different post. So this was actually reposted here by OK Hamster. But listen, I mean, a lot of the things that he said here are valid, right? I mean, I think a lot of us could tell that something was going on, and I haven't given my sort of like opinion yet to the whole Savvy purchasing Scopely aspect of this yet. I have not done that. I personally think and agree with what he said here. Now, none of us, I don't think, knows for sure. He said the sale to Savvy was discussed over a year ago, honestly, to maximize their sales volume over the course of 2022 for due diligence. That I definitely agree with. Something was going on. Why was this excessive amount of screen time, this excessive amount of pressure on players to get 4 teams and 3 additional characters that they had to build up to be able to get this character, and the character ultimately wasn't even as good as they were supposed to be, right? Like, that led to a lot of frustration with the player base, and we could see now, based on the purchase, we could only assume that this was the reason why they were doing this. The last time they did something so heavy that involved a heavy amount of screen time was for as it pertains to Marvel Strike Force. Now, this is Scopely being bought by Savvy, but something similar where Foxnet was then purchased by Scopely, there was an excessive amount of screen time and offers and things like that too that led to until the culmination of that actually happening. And I feel like, once again, it's the same thing that happened, and he's completely right. Like, the company benefited from this, but the player base has not. And I made a video earlier today that talked about yo, listen, like there's 3 major issues in Marvel Strike Force. One, the farmability, one, the lack of agency, and the events that are now like these heavy, like grindy events, but not really grindy in terms of what you have to do in terms of activity, although that is a part of it, but even more so grindy with the characters and the character offers that they have been releasing. And this, I think right now is incredibly sad, because this, say what you want to say about Tadano Mac. Yes, he's a massive spender, the biggest spender in Marvel Strike Force. He was actually an advocate for a lot of better things in MSF. How many times have you probably gotten character shards because he selected the right character, or he fought to try to get the right character for the player base so that they could unlock whatever legendary or hella shards, whatever the case was. Like back then, like there was a lot of things that he has done for the MSF community in terms of like multiple blitzes for character shards, for characters that were not farmable yet. He's done a lot for this community here. And yeah, essentially kind of probably was keeping the lights on so that this game could continue to run. I think that they've lost quite a bit here. And the question now is, Scopely, will you wake up? Will you now realize what you have done? This is your biggest player that is like, bro, I am done with this game. I don't want to play this anymore, because you essentially felt like he was exploited, right? And I guess you could probably say that he probably feels the most exploited, considering that he probably spends the most money in Marvel Strike Force. And a lot of players do feel the exact same way. Like they have really excessively put a lot of their time. I think Apocalypse was really kind of the thing that broke the camel's back for a lot of players, right? It was, here is this character that people had to grind for a year. You put us through hell to be able to get the character. And then from the moment when the character was released, you saw with the kit that it really didn't seem up to par. And then players got the character and it still wasn't up to par. And then they reworked him and it's better, but it's still not as dynamic as Dormammu, not as dynamic as Ultra. You know, screw that. Not as dynamic as how the effort that was required to be able to get this character. Whether you agree with me or not, let's be real, like the character definitely didn't live up to what he was supposed to be. And then now, of course, they've reworked. This is the third rework or second rework to the third rework to this character now, to make sure that this character could perform, or second rework, to perform up to the level. And players have to get to ISO Blue 5, Gear Tier 17 in order to be able to even experience that. So you're talking about additional months. So a year and a half, or probably year and 8 months for some players to be able to get the character that is supposed to be coveted, and there's not really even that great of a, not that dynamic of a character within itself. So I'm hoping at this point in time now that this company is going to wake up and recognize what they're doing, because I believe that this is something that could definitely start a trend, if you ask me, right? You have the biggest player in MSF leaving 69 million TCP here. You have that player that is choosing to leave MSF. Why would other players not follow suit in making that decision as well? So what are your thoughts, guys? What do you think about this happening? Do you think that it's a big deal? Do you not care? Do you, I mean, what are your thoughts? I would love to hear it in the comments. Please leave it down below. Also, if you haven't already, check out the video that I made earlier today where I talked about the 3 major issues in Marvel Strike Force. Would love to hear your feedback on that video as well. I'm going to leave that link right over here, guys. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, guys, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe. Bye.